While I was being escorted out of St. Catherine's Cathedral by security guards because my daughter-in-law claimed I was disrupting her special day, my son's wife Jessica completed her calculated plan to replace me as mother of the groom at the $85,000 wedding I had secretly funded, never knowing that the senile old woman she was humiliating in front of 200 guests actually controlled the $3.2 million inheritance she believed would secure her future, and that her cruel betrayal during what should have been a moment of family celebration would cost her everything she thought she was marrying into, including the house, the trust fund, and the financial security she assumed came automatically with her new last name. Before we dive into this incredible story of wedding day manipulation and the $3.2 million estate my daughter-in-law never knew I controlled, make sure to hit that like button, drop a comment telling me about your worst experience with manipulative in-laws who tried to erase you from family events, and subscribe so you never miss stories like this one about what happens when people assume elderly family members are powerless and discover just how wrong they can be when greed and social climbing override basic human decency and family respect. My name is Eleanor Whitfield, I'm 72 years old, and this story begins 18 months ago when I made what seemed like a generous decision to welcome my son's fiancée into our family by offering to pay for their dream wedding, a decision that would reveal her true character and teach her the most expensive lesson about manipulating elderly family members when you assume they're financially dependent and socially irrelevant while actually controlling every aspect of the lifestyle you're desperately trying to secure through marriage and family exploitation. But to understand how I ended up being removed from my own son's wedding by security guards while my daughter-in-law celebrated erasing me from the most important day of his life, all while secretly controlling the $3.2 million family fortune that funded her entire social climbing strategy, you need to know who I was before my husband's death changed our family dynamics, and before Jessica's assumptions about my powerlessness led her to make the most catastrophic mistake of her social and financial life. For 42 years, I was Eleanor Whitfield, senior estate planning attorney at Whitfield, Morrison & Associates, one of Connecticut's most prestigious law firms serving ultra-high net worth families with generational wealth exceeding $15 million. Across trusts, foundations, and complex asset protection structures. I wasn't just drafting simple wills or basic estate documents, I was the strategic architect responsible for preserving multi-generational family fortunes through sophisticated legal structures that protected wealth from taxation, litigation, family disputes, and the kind of social climbing opportunists who marry into established families with the sole purpose of gaining access to financial resources they could never earn through their own efforts or merit. My responsibilities encompassed designing irrevocable trusts that preserved family wealth across multiple generations while minimizing estate taxes and protecting assets from potential creditors, structuring charitable remainder trusts and private foundations that provided substantial tax benefits while maintaining family control over philanthropic activities, coordinating international asset protection strategies for families with global business interests and offshore holdings, and implementing succession planning that ensured family businesses and investment portfolios would survive leadership transitions, economic downturns, and the inevitable family conflicts that could destroy decades of careful wealth accumulation and strategic financial planning. But these professional achievements only tell part of the story about the complexity and critical importance of protecting established family wealth from individuals who view marriage as a business transaction and elderly family members as obstacles to be managed, manipulated, or eliminated when their presence interferes with social climbing goals and financial extraction strategies that prioritize personal gain over family relationships and generational legacy preservation. During my 4 decades practicing estate law, I specialized in what the legal community called predator protection, sophisticated legal strategies designed to identify and prevent inheritance theft, elder financial abuse, and family wealth exploitation by individuals who pursued relationships with established families for financial rather than emotional reasons. My expertise in this area had developed through representing hundreds of wealthy families who had discovered that their children's spouses, romantic partners, or caregivers were systematically manipulating family relationships to gain access to trust funds, real estate portfolios, and generational wealth that represented decades of careful financial planning and business success. I had witnessed countless situations where family wealth attracted individuals whose primary motivation was financial security rather than genuine love, commitment, or respect for family values and traditions. These cases followed remarkably predictable patterns: charming individuals who showed excessive interest in family financial matters during early relationship stages, who gradually isolated their romantic partners from existing family relationships while positioning themselves as primary advisors on financial and social decisions, and who systematically worked to undermine elderly family members' authority and influence through subtle campaigns of disrespect, exclusion, and psychological manipulation designed to make them appear incompetent or irrelevant. I remember specifically working with the Morrison family, whose daughter had married a man who immediately began pressuring her elderly parents to restructure their estate planning to provide him with guaranteed inheritance rights regardless of his future behavior or treatment of family members. Within 18 months of the marriage, he had convinced his wife that her parents were becoming mentally incompetent and needed younger family members to assume control of their financial affairs for their own protection and the family's long-term financial security. The situation escalated when he demanded that his wife's parents transfer ownership of their $4.2 million historic home to the younger generation for tax efficiency purposes, while allowing the elderly couple to remain as tenants in a property they had owned and maintained for 35 years. When the parents refused and sought legal counsel, he launched a systematic campaign to convince other family members, family friends, and even medical professionals that the elderly couple was suffering from cognitive decline and making irrational financial decisions that endangered the family's wealth and required immediate intervention. But what this manipulative son-in-law didn't understand was that the Morrison family wealth was protected through irrevocable trusts and legal structures that I had designed specifically to prevent exactly this type of exploitation and financial abuse. His attempts to gain control of family assets actually triggered protective clauses that immediately transferred his wife's inheritance to a charitable foundation, permanently excluding him from any financial benefits while providing evidence for criminal charges related to elder financial abuse and inheritance fraud. The Morrison case had taught me that sophisticated financial predators often used marriage as a pathway to family wealth while employing psychological manipulation tactics designed to isolate elderly family members and undermine their credibility when they attempted to protect their assets from exploitation. These individuals were skilled at presenting themselves as caring family members who were concerned about elderly relatives' welfare while actually working to gain control of financial resources through legal manipulation, family pressure, and systematic campaigns of disrespect designed to make elderly people appear incompetent or unreasonable. My experience with cases like the Morrison family had taught me to recognize the warning signs of individuals who pursued relationships with established families for financial rather than emotional reasons, excessive interest in family financial matters during early relationship stages, detailed questions about trust structures and inheritance arrangements, comments about elderly relatives' outdated approaches to money management, and gradual efforts to position themselves as better qualified to handle family financial responsibilities and social obligations. Most concerning were the individuals who systematically worked to isolate their romantic partners from existing family relationships, friendships, and social connections while positioning themselves as the primary source of advice, emotional support, and guidance about family matters that had previously been handled through established relationships and generational wisdom that had successfully preserved family wealth and values for decades. These predatory individuals understood that elderly family members represented the greatest threat to their financial extraction strategies because older relatives possessed institutional memory about family values, historical context about wealth creation and preservation, and the life experience necessary to recognize manipulation tactics and protect family resources from exploitation. Therefore, their strategies consistently involved undermining elderly family members' authority, credibility, and social connections through subtle but persistent campaigns of disrespect, exclusion, and psychological manipulation designed to make them appear irrelevant or incompetent. During my legal career, I had developed sophisticated protective strategies that went far beyond traditional estate planning to include psychological evaluation protocols for potential family members, behavioral monitoring systems that tracked concerning patterns over time, and legal structures that automatically triggered protective measures when specific warning signs indicated potential financial exploitation or elder abuse. My approach to family wealth protection was based on the principle that generational wealth should reward genuine family loyalty, character development, and commitment to family values while protecting against individuals who viewed family relationships as business opportunities and elderly relatives as obstacles to be overcome rather than people deserving respect, inclusion, and unconditional family loyalty regardless of their age, health status, or perceived usefulness to younger family members. Social and financial ambitions. My marriage to Charles Whitfield had been a true partnership built on shared values, intellectual compatibility, and complementary professional expertise that enhanced both our individual careers and our joint success in building substantial family wealth while maintaining strong relationships with our children and contributing meaningfully to our community through charitable work and civic involvement that reflected our commitment to using privilege responsibly. Charles was a commercial real estate developer who specialized in historic preservation projects that revitalized downtown areas while maintaining the architectural character and cultural significance of established communities. His approach to development prioritized long-term community benefit over short-term profit maximization, earning him respect from city planners, historic preservation societies, and local business owners who appreciated his commitment to responsible development that enhanced rather than exploited the communities where his projects were located. Charles's investment philosophy was methodical and community-focused. He identified historic properties in established neighborhoods that had cultural significance but needed restoration to remain viable for modern commercial use, purchased them at fair market prices from sellers who appreciated his restoration commitments, and developed them thoughtfully to create sustainable businesses while preserving the architectural heritage and community character that made these locations valuable to residents and visitors. His most significant project was the restoration of the Riverside Mill Complex, a collection of 19th-century textile buildings that had been abandoned for 20 years before Charles acquired them in 1987. Most developers viewed the property as demolition candidates because the restoration costs seemed prohibitive and the downtown location was considered commercially unviable due to urban decay and limited parking availability. But Charles recognized that the mill complex represented an opportunity to anchor downtown revitalization while preserving irreplaceable architectural heritage that told the story of New England's industrial development and cultural evolution. He spent 3 years coordinating with historic preservation specialists, city planners, and community organizations to develop a restoration plan that would preserve the building's historic character while creating modern commercial space for businesses that would contribute to downtown economic development. The restoration process involved structural reinforcement that preserved original timber framing and brick construction, mechanical system updates that met modern building codes while maintaining period-appropriate aesthetics, and site development that provided adequate parking while preserving historic landscaping and the mill pond that had powered the original textile operations. When the restoration was completed in 1992, the Riverside Mill Complex housed 23 businesses including professional offices, artisan workshops, specialty retail stores, and a restaurant that became a community gathering place for residents and visitors who appreciated the combination of historic preservation and modern commercial vitality that Charles's vision had created. Over 35 years of careful property acquisition and restoration, Charles had built a portfolio that included 12 historic properties throughout Connecticut and Massachusetts, restored Victorian commercial buildings housing boutique shops and professional offices, converted mill buildings that provided affordable workspace for artists and small businesses, carefully renovated historic homes that served as event venues for weddings and corporate retreats, and adaptively reused industrial buildings that provided modern commercial space while preserving architectural heritage and community character. Charles's approach to business relationships was based on the principle that sustainable success required building genuine partnerships with tenants, contractors, and community leaders based on mutual respect, fair treatment, and long-term commitment to community development that benefited everyone involved rather than extracting maximum profit without regard for social impact or community welfare. His tenant relationships exemplified this philosophy through lease agreements that provided rent stability for small businesses, shared maintenance responsibilities that kept operating costs reasonable for both parties, and collaborative approaches to property improvements that enhanced the buildings while supporting tenant business success. Many of his commercial tenants had remained in his properties for over 20 years because they appreciated his commitment to maintaining beautiful, functional spaces at reasonable costs while providing responsive management that addressed their business needs professionally and promptly. The total portfolio value had reached $3.2 million by 2019, generating steady monthly income of $28,000 through rental agreements with established businesses and event bookings that provided financial security while funding our charitable giving and family support activities. But more importantly, Charles's work had created lasting positive impact in communities throughout New England, preserving architectural heritage while providing economic opportunities for local businesses and cultural organizations that contributed to community vitality and cultural preservation. But Charles was also a keen observer of human nature who had expressed increasing concerns about our son David's relationship choices and his tendency to be attracted to women who seemed more interested in our family's social status and financial resources than in building genuine emotional connections based on shared values, mutual respect, and commitment to the kind of character development and community involvement that had guided our family's approach to relationships and social responsibility. Eleanor, David is intelligent and capable of building a successful career and meaningful relationships, Charles had explained during one of our evening conversations about family dynamics and our concerns about his dating patterns that seemed to follow predictable patterns of attraction to women who prioritized social climbing over character development, but he consistently chooses women who seem focused on the lifestyle and social advantages that come with our family rather than appreciating his individual character, professional potential, or the values we've tried to instill about using privilege responsibly and treating others with dignity regardless of their social or financial status. Charles had noticed that David's girlfriends consistently showed more interest in our family's social connections, charitable activities, and lifestyle than in David's own interests, career goals, or personal development. They would ask detailed questions about our involvement in cultural organizations, charitable foundations, and social events while showing minimal curiosity about David's work as a junior architect at Patterson and Associates, his passion for sustainable design and green building technologies, or his volunteer activities with Habitat for Humanity that reflected his commitment to using his professional skills for community benefit and affordable housing development. During David's 2-year relationship with his previous girlfriend, Amanda Richardson, Charles had observed concerning patterns that foreshadowed the more serious issues we would later face with Jessica. Amanda had consistently encouraged David to attend high-profile social events and family gatherings where she could network with influential community members, while showing little interest in his friends from architecture school, his hiking and photography hobbies, or his professional development activities that didn't enhance her social networking opportunities or provide access to people who could advance her own career in luxury event planning. Amanda seems to view our family as a business networking opportunity rather than appreciating the genuine relationships and values that make family connections meaningful, Charles had observed during a family dinner where Amanda spent the entire evening discussing her work coordinating fundraising galas for luxury brands and high-end cultural events, while showing no interest in our conversations about David's recent architectural project designing affordable housing for seniors, or our recent visit to his grandmother in the assisted living facility where we spent every Sunday afternoon. When Charles suggested that genuine family relationships required mutual care and investment in each other's well-being rather than viewing family connections as professional advantages to be leveraged for career advancement, Amanda's response revealed her transactional approach to relationships and her fundamental misunderstanding of what Charles and I valued in family dynamics and social relationships. Mr. Whitfield, networking and social connections are essential for career success in today's competitive environment, she had replied with the confident tone of someone who believed that using relationships for professional advancement was sophisticated strategy rather than recognizing that it revealed character flaws that would create problems in marriage and family relationships based on genuine mutual support and emotional connection. I think David benefits from having a partner who understands how to navigate social situations effectively and can help him build the kind of professional network that will advance his career and enhance his opportunities in architecture and design. Family connections and social relationships are valuable resources that should be cultivated strategically to create opportunities for everyone involved. But Charles understood that Amanda's focus on navigating social situations effectively actually meant using our family's reputation and connections to advance her own career without providing reciprocal value, genuine care, or authentic investment in family relationships that would require emotional generosity, personal sacrifice, and commitment to supporting others' needs and interests even when they didn't directly benefit her professional goals or social advancement strategies. This pattern of dating women who viewed our family as a social and professional resource rather than seeking genuine emotional connection with David had concerned Charles and me throughout David's 20s and early 30s. We had hoped that, as he matured professionally and gained confidence in his architectural career, he would develop better judgment about romantic partners and seek relationships based on shared values, mutual respect, and genuine compatibility rather than being flattered by attention from women who were actually attracted to our family's social status and financial security. We had tried to guide David toward understanding that healthy relationships required partners who appreciated him for his individual character, professional dedication, and personal values rather than viewing him as access to lifestyle advantages and social connections that they couldn't achieve through their own efforts and merit. We had encouraged him to date women who had their own career success, personal interests, and social connections rather than those who seemed primarily interested in upgrading their lifestyle and social status through association with our family. But when David introduced us to Jessica Hartford in early 2022, our concerns intensified rather than diminished. From her first visit to our home, Jessica demonstrated the same patterns of social climbing and family resource evaluation that had characterized David's previous relationships, but with a more sophisticated and calculated approach that suggested she had learned from observing other women's unsuccessful attempts to gain access to established family wealth through marriage and social manipulation. Jessica's background was middle-class suburban Connecticut with divorced parents, community college education in business administration, and employment as an assistant manager at an upscale retail chain specializing in luxury home furnishings, circumstances that weren't concerning in themselves but became problematic when combined with her obvious focus on upgrading her lifestyle and social status through marriage rather than building her own career success or developing the kind of character and values that would make her a genuine partner in marriage and family relationships. During her early visits to our home, Jessica consistently steered conversations toward our family's social activities, charitable involvement, and lifestyle choices while showing minimal interest in David's individual interests, professional development, or the family values and traditions that had guided our approach to wealth, relationships, and community involvement for generations. "Mrs. Whitfield, your home is absolutely gorgeous," Jessica would comment during family dinners, but her focus was always on acquisition and status rather than appreciation for the history, craftsmanship, or family memories that made our home meaningful to us. "I love how you've decorated it so elegantly. The antiques and artwork are stunning. David has told me about your involvement with the Hartford Symphony and the Wadsworth Athenaeum. It must be wonderful to be so involved in cultural activities and community leadership." But when I tried to engage Jessica in conversations about the actual mission and work of these organizations, the educational programs we funded for underserved students, the community outreach initiatives that brought classical music to senior centers and schools, or the volunteer work that connected us with people from diverse backgrounds, her interest quickly shifted to the social events, fundraising galas, and networking opportunities that provided visibility and status rather than meaningful community involvement. "That sounds like really important work," she would agree politely before redirecting the conversation. "I'd love to learn more about the fundraising events and social activities. David mentioned that your family is involved in some really prestigious charitable organizations and cultural events that bring together influential people from throughout the state. It must provide amazing networking opportunities and social connections." Jessica was demonstrating the classic pattern of someone more interested in the social access and status that came with charitable involvement than in the actual mission, values, and community impact that motivated our family's philanthropic activities and civic engagement throughout our careers and retirement years. What made Jessica's approach more concerning than David's previous girlfriends was her systematic way of gathering information about our family's financial resources and social connections while presenting herself as simply interested in learning about family traditions and values. She would ask questions that seemed innocent but were actually designed to understand our asset structure, inheritance planning, and the decision-making processes that governed our charitable giving and family financial management. "Mrs. Whitfield, how long has your family been involved with these cultural organizations?" she would ask during conversations about our philanthropic activities. "It's wonderful that you've been able to maintain such long-term commitments to community involvement. I imagine it requires significant financial resources and time investment to support these organizations effectively." When I explained that our charitable giving was guided by values Charles and I had developed over decades of community involvement and that we viewed philanthropy as a responsibility that came with financial success rather than a social networking strategy, Jessica's follow-up questions revealed her real interests. "That's such an admirable approach," she would respond. "How do you decide which organizations to support and what level of financial commitment to make? Do you work with financial advisors or family members to coordinate your giving strategy? It must be complex to manage charitable activities alongside other family financial responsibilities and inheritance planning." Jessica was systematically gathering intelligence about our family's financial decision-making processes, inheritance structures, and the role that different family members played in managing our wealth and charitable activities. Her questions were too specific and strategic to be casual conversation, and her focus on financial structures rather than charitable impact revealed that she was evaluating our family as a business opportunity rather than building genuine relationships based on shared values and mutual respect. But what Jessica didn't understand, and what would ultimately cost her everything she thought she was gaining through marriage to David, was that Charles and I had spent decades protecting our family wealth from exactly this type of social climbing and financial exploitation through sophisticated legal structures and estate planning strategies that rewarded genuine family loyalty while preventing inheritance theft and elder abuse by family members who viewed marriage as a business transaction rather than a lifelong commitment to mutual care, respect, and shared values. The wedding that Jessica thought would secure her financial future was actually the final test of her character, and her decision to humiliate and erase me from the celebration would trigger consequences more expensive than she could imagine. While teaching her that elderly family members who appear socially irrelevant may actually control the entire foundation of the lifestyle she thought she was securing through marriage and family manipulation. The stage was being set for Jessica to discover that assuming elderly in-laws are powerless obstacles to be managed or eliminated can result in losing access to everything you thought you were gaining, and that wedding planning decisions based on social climbing rather than family respect can determine whether you inherit generational wealth or find yourself permanently excluded from the financial security you assumed came automatically with your new last name. Looking back now with the clarity that comes from watching someone systematically destroy their own future through calculated betrayal and spectacular miscalculation about family power dynamics, I can see that Jessica's character flaws weren't sudden developments that emerged during wedding planning when stress and social pressure revealed her true priorities. They were consistent patterns of manipulation, social climbing, and elderly exploitation that had been evident from her first family dinner but that David had consistently rationalized, excused, or attributed to normal relationship adjustment phases rather than recognizing them as fundamental personality traits that would define her approach to family relationships and inheritance expectations throughout what she assumed would be a financially advantageous marriage. Jessica had always been what social observers might diplomatically call strategically charming but opportunistically ruthless during her courtship of David and integration into our family social circle. From her first invitation to family gatherings through her engagement announcement, she demonstrated exceptional ability to present herself as the perfect daughter-in-law while simultaneously gathering intelligence about our family's financial resources, social connections, and inheritance structures that would determine her long-term access to the lifestyle and security she was pursuing through marriage rather than personal achievement or character development. During the early months of her relationship with David, Jessica excelled at activities that allowed her to showcase her social skills and cultural sophistication without requiring genuine emotional investment or collaborative effort with family members who might challenge her assumptions or expose the calculating nature of her family integration strategy. She was brilliant at formal dinner conversations where her retail management experience helped her discuss luxury brands and high-end consumer trends, holiday celebrations where her event planning interests allowed her to contribute organizational skills while gathering information about family traditions and gift-giving patterns, and charity events where her networking abilities made her appear engaged with our philanthropic activities while actually building her own social contact list. But Jessica would consistently avoid or minimize situations that required genuine emotional investment, long-term commitment to family welfare, or supporting family members during difficult periods when assistance wouldn't enhance her social status or contribute to her strategic positioning within our family's financial and social structure. Extended conversations with elderly relatives became exercises in polite endurance rather than genuine interest in family history or generational wisdom. Helping with family members' health challenges or personal problems was managed through minimal effort and maximum visibility rather than authentic care or sustained support. Jessica seems very polished and socially adept, Charles had observed after her third family dinner, but I'm concerned about her apparent lack of genuine curiosity about our family's history, values, or the experiences that shaped our approach to business and community involvement. She asks the right questions about our current activities and social connections, but she shows no interest in understanding the principles and relationships that created the foundation for our success and community involvement. When we tried to share stories about the challenges and decisions that had built our family's reputation and financial security, Charles's early struggles with historic preservation projects that required years of community building before becoming profitable, my career development in estate law when women faced significant professional barriers, or our family's immigration history and the values that guided our approach to wealth and social responsibility. Jessica's responses revealed her transactional approach to family relationships and her fundamental disinterest in anything that didn't provide immediate social or financial advantage. That's really interesting family history, she would respond with carefully modulated enthusiasm that sounded appropriate but lacked genuine engagement, but I'm more curious about your current involvement with cultural organizations and charitable activities. David mentioned that your family has established relationships with some really prestigious institutions and influential community leaders. I'd love to learn more about those connections and how I might be able to contribute to those activities once David and I are married. At 28 years old, Jessica was already demonstrating the kind of calculating self-interest and strategic family manipulation that would characterize her approach to marriage, social positioning, and inheritance expectations throughout her engagement and wedding planning process. She viewed our family's history and achievements as background context for understanding current resources and opportunities rather than recognizing that family stories and generational experiences contained valuable lessons about character, resilience, and the principles that should guide family relationships and financial decision-making. The most troubling aspect of Jessica's early family integration was her systematic approach to gathering information about our estate planning, property ownership, and financial management while presenting these inquiries as natural interest in family dynamics and future planning responsibilities. Her questions were too specific and strategically focused to be casual conversation, and her follow-up inquiries revealed that she was building a comprehensive understanding of our family's asset structure and inheritance arrangements. During our fourth family dinner, when Charles mentioned routine maintenance work on one of his historic properties, Jessica's response revealed the calculating nature of her interest in our family's financial affairs and her assumptions about her future role in managing family resources and business decisions. "Mr. Whitfield, how many properties does your family own, and how do you coordinate maintenance and management responsibilities?" she asked with the kind of detailed interest that suggested professional rather than personal curiosity. "It must be quite complex to maintain historic buildings while ensuring they remain profitable rental properties. Do you work with property management companies, or do family members handle the operational responsibilities?" "Jessica, our property management approach has evolved over 35 years of learning what works best for historic preservation, while maintaining positive tenant relationships," Charles replied, testing whether her interest was in the principles and values that guided our business decisions or simply in understanding the financial and operational structures that she might eventually influence or control. "We prioritize long-term preservation and community benefit over short-term profit maximization, which means investing in quality maintenance, fair rental rates, and building genuine relationships with tenants who appreciate our commitment to maintaining beautiful, functional spaces that enhance their businesses and contribute to community vitality." "That sounds like a really admirable approach," Jessica agreed with immediate enthusiasm, "but it also sounds like it might not be the most financially efficient strategy for maximizing return on investment. Have you considered working with professional property management companies that specialize in optimizing rental income and property values? Or bringing in younger family members who might have more current knowledge about real estate markets and property management technologies that could increase profitability?" Jessica was already positioning herself as someone who could improve our family's financial performance through more aggressive business strategies and modern management approaches, while subtly suggesting that our current methods were outdated and could benefit from her perspective and involvement. She was presenting herself as a potential solution to problems that didn't exist while demonstrating her fundamental misunderstanding of the values and relationships that had made our properties successful and meaningful to our family and community. "Jessica, our approach to property management is based on principles that go beyond financial optimization," I explained, hoping to help her understand that our business decisions reflected values about community responsibility, long-term thinking, and relationship building that couldn't be measured solely through profit margins or market efficiency metrics. "We view our properties as community assets that should contribute to downtown vitality and provide opportunities for local businesses to thrive, rather than simply extracting maximum rent from tenants regardless of the impact on their business success or community development. Our tenant relationships often span decades because we've built trust through fair treatment and consistent support during challenging economic periods." "I understand the community aspect is important to your family," Jessica replied with the kind of diplomatic acknowledgement that suggested she was saying what we wanted to hear rather than expressing genuine agreement with our approach to business and community relationships. "But I also think there's value in ensuring that family assets are managed as efficiently as possible to preserve and grow wealth for future generations. Sometimes being too generous with tenants or too focused on community impact can reduce the financial security that allows families to continue their charitable activities and community involvement over the long term." Jessica was demonstrating a sophisticated understanding of how to frame financial exploitation as responsible family stewardship, presenting her desire for more aggressive profit maximization as concern for our family's long-term financial security and charitable capabilities. She was learning to use our own values about community involvement and family financial responsibility to justify business approaches that would actually contradict those principles while benefiting her personally. Through increased income and asset control, during the spring and summer of 2022, as Jessica's relationship with David progressed toward engagement, her approach to family interactions became increasingly focused on positioning herself as the logical coordinator for family social activities, charitable events, and business decisions that would affect our estate planning and inheritance structures. Instead of simply participating in existing family traditions and gradually learning our approaches to philanthropy and community involvement, she began suggesting improvements and modernizations that would enhance our social impact while coincidentally increasing her visibility and influence within our family's social and financial networks. Mrs. Whitfield, I've been thinking about your family's charitable activities and wondering if there might be opportunities to coordinate your giving more strategically to increase visibility and community impact, Jessica announced during a family barbecue where we were discussing our annual donations to local cultural organizations and educational programs. I have some experience with event planning and social media marketing from my retail management work, and I think your family could significantly enhance your philanthropic influence by hosting fundraising events and creating more public awareness about your community involvement. It might also provide better networking opportunities and recognition for your family's generous contributions to local organizations. Jessica, our approach to charitable giving is based on identifying organizations whose missions align with our values and providing sustained support that helps them achieve their community service goals, I replied, trying to help her understand that our philanthropic activities were guided by principles of effectiveness and genuine impact rather than social visibility or networking opportunities. We prefer to support organizations consistently over many years rather than hosting high-profile events that might generate publicity but don't necessarily provide the most efficient use of charitable resources for community benefit. Many of our most meaningful charitable relationships involve behind-the-scenes support that helps organizations focus on their missions rather than fundraising and social events. But Mrs. Whitfield, increasing the visibility of your family's charitable work could inspire other wealthy families to increase their own giving while establishing your family as community leaders who could influence other philanthropic activities and social initiatives, Jessica countered with logic that revealed her fundamental misunderstanding of our motivations for charitable giving and community involvement. High-profile charitable events also provide opportunities to build relationships with other influential families and community leaders who could enhance your social connections and create business opportunities that benefit everyone involved. It seems like your family might be missing opportunities to maximize both social impact and networking benefits through more strategic approaches to philanthropy and community leadership. Jessica was systematically reframing our family's charitable activities as insufficient and suggesting that her involvement would enhance our social impact while coincidentally providing her with access to influential community members and high-profile social events that would advance her own social climbing goals and networking objectives. She was presenting herself as someone who could improve our family's community leadership and philanthropic effectiveness while actually proposing changes that would serve her personal agenda for social advancement and relationship building more. Concerning was Jessica's increasing focus on our family's estate planning and inheritance structures, which she approached through seemingly innocent questions about family financial planning and wealth preservation strategies. Her inquiries were becoming more specific and sophisticated as she learned about our legal and financial arrangements, and her suggestions about modernizing our estate planning revealed her assumptions about her future role in managing family wealth and business decisions. David mentioned that your family works with estate planning attorneys and financial advisors to manage generational wealth transfer and tax optimization, she said during a conversation about our family's long-term financial planning and charitable giving strategies. I've been reading about modern estate planning techniques and trust structures that might provide better tax benefits and more flexible asset management than traditional approaches. Have you considered updating your estate planning to take advantage of newer legal strategies that could preserve more wealth for future generations? Jessica, our estate planning was designed by professionals who specialize in protecting family wealth from taxation, litigation, and family conflicts that could destroy generational assets, I explained, curious about whether her interest in our estate planning was motivated by genuine concern for family financial security or by personal interest in understanding and potentially influencing our inheritance structures. Our legal arrangements include sophisticated protective measures that ensure family wealth supports genuine family loyalty and character development while preventing exploitation by individuals who might view marriage as access to unearned financial resources. These protections have been tested through decades of legal and economic changes, and they remain the most effective approach for preserving family wealth across multiple generations. I'm sure your estate planning is very well designed, Jessica agreed with diplomatic enthusiasm, but I also think it's important to review and update legal structures periodically to ensure they remain optimal for current tax laws and family circumstances. David and I have been discussing our future financial planning, and we want to make sure we understand how family wealth management and inheritance planning might affect our long-term financial security and our ability to contribute to family, business and charitable activities. Jessica was positioning herself as a concerned future family member who wanted to understand and contribute to our family's financial planning while actually gathering information about inheritance structures that would affect her personal financial security and her ability to influence family business decisions and asset management. Her references to David and I revealed her assumptions about joint decision-making authority and her expectation that marriage would provide her with legitimate influence over family wealth management and estate planning decisions. During David's birthday celebration in August 2022, Jessica's behavior revealed the escalating nature of her manipulation tactics and her increasing confidence about her position within our family structure. Instead of focusing on David's interests and preferences for his birthday celebration, she used the event as an opportunity to showcase her event planning abilities while demonstrating her assumed authority over family social activities and her expectations about her role in coordinating future family gatherings and social obligations. "I hope you don't mind, but I took the liberty of coordinating some special arrangements for David's birthday celebration," Jessica announced when she arrived at our home with elaborate decorations, catered food from an expensive restaurant, and a guest list that included several people we had never met but who were apparently important contacts from her retail management and social networking activities. "I thought it would be nice to make this celebration really special and memorable, and I invited some friends who I thought would enjoy meeting your family and learning about your community involvement and cultural activities. I think David deserves a celebration that reflects his success and his family's social position, and I wanted to contribute something really elegant and impressive." Jessica, David specifically mentioned that he preferred quiet family celebrations with close relatives and longtime friends. Charles replied with obvious concern about her decision to override David's clearly expressed preferences while using his birthday as an opportunity for her own social networking and family relationship positioning. He was looking forward to a relaxed evening with family conversation and his favorite home-cooked meal rather than a formal entertaining event with people he doesn't know well. Birthday celebrations should reflect the person being honored rather than showcasing event planning abilities or creating networking opportunities. "But Mr. Whitfield, I think David was just being modest about what kind of celebration he deserves," Jessica responded with confident authority that suggested she understood David's preferences better than his own family despite having known him for less than 2 years. "He's achieved so much professionally and personally, and his family has such impressive social connections and community involvement that his birthday celebration should reflect those accomplishments and relationships. I wanted to create an event that honored both David's success and your family's social position while providing opportunities for meaningful connections with other influential and interesting people." Jessica was systematically overriding David's expressed preferences while using his birthday celebration as a platform for her own social advancement goals and family integration strategy. She was presenting her disregard for his wishes as better understanding of what he deserved, while positioning herself as someone who could enhance our family's social activities and community connections through her event planning abilities and networking skills. More troubling was her assumption that she had the authority to make decisions about family social events and guest lists without consulting family members or considering their preferences and comfort levels. She was already behaving as if she held decision-making authority over family activities while expecting appreciation for initiatives that served her own agenda rather than genuine family interests or David's actual preferences. The guest list Jessica had assembled for David's birthday celebration revealed her strategic approach to relationship building and her assumptions about the social connections she could develop through association with our family's reputation and community involvement. The people she had invited were primarily individuals who could advance her own professional interests or social status rather than friends who knew and cared about David or family friends who would contribute to a meaningful birthday celebration. "Jessica, who are these people you've invited to David's birthday celebration?" I asked when several couples arrived who were obviously unfamiliar with our home, family relationships, and David's interests and social connections. "They're friends and professional contacts who I thought would enjoy meeting your family and learning about your community involvement and cultural activities," she explained with obvious pride in her networking abilities and social coordination skills. "Sarah and Michael work in luxury real estate and historic preservation, so I thought they would be interested in Mr. Whitfield's development projects. Jennifer manages marketing for the Art Museum's capital campaign, so she would love to discuss your family's support for cultural organizations. And Mark and Lisa are involved in several charitable foundations, so they could probably provide valuable insights about philanthropic strategy and community leadership opportunities." Jessica had essentially turned David's birthday into a networking event for her own professional advancement and social climbing goals while presenting it as an opportunity for our family to build beneficial relationships and enhance our community involvement. She was using our family's reputation and David's celebration as bait to attract connections that would serve her personal agenda while expecting gratitude for her contribution to our social activities and community relationships. When David realized that his birthday celebration had been transformed into a networking event with strangers who were more interested in discussing our family's community involvement and financial activities than celebrating his birthday or getting to know him personally, his reaction revealed his growing awareness of Jessica's manipulation tactics and her prioritization of her own agenda over his preferences and family relationships. "Jessica, I specifically told you I wanted a quiet family celebration with people who know and care about me," he said during a private conversation in our kitchen while her invited guests dominated the living room discussion with questions about our charitable activities and historic preservation projects. "These people don't know me at all, and they're obviously more interested in networking with my parents than celebrating my birthday. This feels like a business event rather than a personal celebration, and I'm uncomfortable with how you've used my birthday as an opportunity for your own social networking without considering what I actually wanted or asked for." "David, I was trying to create something special and impressive that reflects your accomplishments and your family's social position," Jessica replied with defensive logic that framed her disregard for his wishes as generous effort on his behalf. "I thought you would appreciate having a celebration that showcased your family's community involvement and gave you opportunities to meet interesting people who could enhance your professional network and social connections. Sometimes we need to think beyond our immediate comfort zones to create opportunities for growth and advancement that benefit everyone involved." Jessica was refusing to acknowledge that she had prioritized her own networking goals over David's clearly expressed preferences while presenting her manipulation as sophisticated event planning and social strategy that would benefit him personally and professionally. She was demonstrating her fundamental inability to prioritize other people's needs and preferences when they conflicted with her own agenda for social advancement and relationship building. During the fall of 2022, as David and Jessica's relationship moved toward engagement, her manipulation tactics became more sophisticated and calculated as she learned to leverage our family values and relationships to justify behavior that actually contradicted those principles while advancing her personal agenda for social climbing and financial security through marriage rather than personal achievement or character development. Her approach to family gift-giving revealed her strategic thinking about inheritance expectations and her assumptions about the financial resources she could access through marriage to David. Instead of choosing gifts that reflected genuine understanding of family members' interests and preferences, she selected expensive items that demonstrated her access to luxury goods while positioning herself as someone who could enhance our family's lifestyle and social status through her retail industry connections and consumer sophistication. "I hope you like the gifts I selected for your family for the holidays," Jessica announced when she arrived at our Christmas celebration with elaborately wrapped packages containing luxury items that were clearly expensive but didn't reflect any understanding of our individual interests or family traditions related to gift-giving and holiday celebrations. "I used my connections in retail management to access some really exclusive items that aren't available to regular consumers. I thought your family would appreciate high-quality luxury goods that reflect your social position and sophisticated tastes while demonstrating the kind of lifestyle enhancements I could contribute to family activities and special occasions." The gifts Jessica had selected revealed her fundamental misunderstanding of our family values and her assumptions about what we valued in relationships and material possessions. She had chosen items based on price and exclusivity rather than thoughtfulness or personal meaning, and her emphasis on using connections to access luxury goods suggested she viewed gift-giving as an opportunity to demonstrate her value as a family member through consumer access rather than emotional investment or genuine care for recipients' interests and preferences. When Charles opened his gift and discovered an expensive watch that was clearly chosen for its brand recognition and price rather than his personal style or interests, his reaction revealed his disappointment with Jessica's approach to family relationships and her assumptions about what constituted meaningful gift-giving and family connection. "Jessica, this is certainly an expensive and high-quality watch," he said with diplomatic appreciation, "but I'm curious about why you chose this particular gift. I've worn the same simple watch for 20 years because it has sentimental value and meets my practical needs, and I've never expressed interest in luxury timepieces or expensive accessories that showcase brand recognition rather than personal meaning or functional value. Mr. Whitfield, I thought you deserved to have something really special and high quality that reflects your professional success and social position," Jessica replied with confident authority about what Charles deserved, despite having no understanding of his personal preferences or values related to material possessions and consumer choices. "The watch I selected is from one of the most prestigious luxury brands, and it's the kind of timepiece that successful business owners and community leaders typically wear to important meetings and social events. I wanted to give you something that would enhance your professional image while demonstrating the kind of sophisticated lifestyle choices that our family could make with better access to luxury goods and exclusive products. Jessica was essentially telling Charles that his personal preferences and values were inadequate for someone in his social and financial position, while positioning herself as someone who could upgrade our family's consumer choices and lifestyle through her industry connections and understanding of luxury goods and status symbols. She was suggesting that our current approaches to material possessions were insufficient and could be improved through her guidance and access to exclusive products that would better reflect our wealth and social status. More revealing was her assumption that our family's gift-giving should focus on demonstrating wealth and social position rather than expressing personal care, emotional connection, and understanding of individual family members' interests and values. She was treating gift-giving as an opportunity to showcase her access to luxury goods while expecting appreciation for expensive items that had no personal meaning or connection to recipients' actual preferences and family traditions. When I opened my gift and found an elaborate silk scarf from a luxury designer brand that was clearly chosen for its price and prestige rather than my personal style or preferences, my reaction provided another opportunity to observe Jessica's assumptions about family relationships and her understanding of what constituted meaningful gestures of care and appreciation. "Jessica, this is certainly a beautiful and expensive scarf," I said while examining the elaborate design that reflected luxury brand aesthetics rather than anything connected to my personal style or interests, "but I'm wondering if you considered my actual preferences for clothing and accessories when you made this selection. I typically choose simple, classic pieces that reflect practical needs rather than brand recognition or fashion trends." "Mrs. Whitfield, I thought you would enjoy having something really elegant and sophisticated that reflects your social position and cultural involvement," Jessica replied with the same confident assumptions about what I should want based on her perceptions of my social status rather than understanding of my individual preferences and values. "This scarf is from a designer who's very popular with women in leadership positions and cultural organizations, and it's the kind of accessory that would be perfect for charity events and social activities where you represent your family's community involvement and philanthropic leadership. I wanted to give you something that would enhance your presence at important social functions while demonstrating sophisticated fashion sense and luxury brand awareness." Jessica was revealing her belief that our family's current choices about clothing, accessories, and lifestyle were inadequate for our social position and could be improved through her guidance and access to luxury brands and fashion trends. She was positioning herself as someone who understood sophisticated consumer choices better than we did while suggesting that our personal preferences were outdated or inappropriate for people with our wealth and community involvement. But what Jessica didn't understand was that her approach to gift-giving and family relationships was providing valuable intelligence about her character, values, and assumptions about family dynamics that would ultimately determine her access to the inheritance and lifestyle she believed she was securing through marriage to David. Every expensive gift, every suggestion about improving our choices, and every assumption about what we deserved was revealing aspects of her personality that would influence our estate planning decisions and inheritance structures in ways she never anticipated or considered. The engagement announcement that Jessica orchestrated in January 2023 revealed the culmination of her character development and manipulation strategy, and her assumptions about her new position within our family structure and inheritance expectations. Instead of approaching the engagement as a celebration of her commitment to David and integration into our family based on shared values and mutual respect, she used the announcement as an opportunity to establish her authority over family social events while positioning herself as the primary coordinator for wedding planning and family celebration activities. But what Jessica had never suspected was that her systematic manipulation, social climbing, and elderly exploitation had been carefully documented and evaluated by someone with 4 decades of professional experience in protecting family wealth from exactly her type of calculated betrayal and inheritance theft. Her wedding planning process would become the final test of her character, and her assumptions about my powerlessness would prove to be the most expensive miscalculation of her life. During the 6 months of wedding planning that followed Jessica's calculated engagement announcement in January 2023, her manipulation tactics escalated from subtle social climbing and family intelligence gathering to aggressive control over major family decisions and systematic efforts to marginalize my role in the wedding celebration while positioning herself as the primary authority over what should have been a joyful family milestone that honored the union of two people who genuinely loved each other rather than a strategic social event designed to establish her dominance within our family hierarchy and inheritance expectations. Jessica's approach to wedding planning revealed the sophisticated nature of her long-term strategy for family integration and financial security through marriage. Instead of viewing the wedding as a celebration that should reflect both families' values and traditions while honoring David's preferences and our family's approach to meaningful events, she treated the planning process as an opportunity to demonstrate her superiority in event coordination, social networking, and lifestyle management while systematically excluding or overriding input from family members who might challenge her vision or limit her control over the celebration that would formally establish her position within our family structure. From the moment David proposed in February 2023, Jessica immediately assumed complete authority over wedding planning decisions without consulting family members about preferences, budget considerations, or family traditions that had guided previous celebrations and milestone events throughout our family's history. Her first announcement about wedding planning revealed her assumptions about financial resources and her expectations about family member roles in funding and coordinating what she envisioned as a high-profile social event rather than an intimate family celebration. David and I have been discussing our wedding plans, and we've decided that we want to create something really special and memorable that reflects our success and your family's social position, Jessica announced during a family dinner in early February, immediately establishing that the wedding would serve multiple purposes beyond celebrating their commitment to each other. I have extensive experience with event planning from my retail management background, and I've already identified several venues and vendors that could create the kind of elegant, sophisticated celebration that would be appropriate for a family with your community involvement and social connections. I think we should aim for a wedding that sets new standards for elegance and shows the community the kind of events your family can host when we coordinate resources effectively. Jessica, what scale of celebration are you envisioning, and have you discussed budget parameters with David? Charles asked, immediately recognizing the implications of her language about coordinating resources and setting new standards that suggested expensive expectations without consideration for practical financial planning or family preferences about celebration styles and social obligations. Well, I think David's wedding should reflect his professional success and your family's social position rather than being limited by arbitrary budget constraints, Jessica replied with confident authority that revealed her assumptions about unlimited financial resources and her expectation that family wealth should be available for her wedding vision without restriction or financial accountability. I've been researching venues and vendors, and I think we should budget around $75,000 to $85,000 for a celebration that would truly honor this milestone and create the kind of memorable event that reflects your family's commitment to excellence and sophisticated lifestyle choices. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to showcase family values and social connections through a really impressive celebration. Jessica was immediately establishing that the wedding budget should reflect our family's wealth and social status. Rather than considering practical financial planning, family preferences for celebration styles, or David's own ideas about the type of wedding that would be meaningful and appropriate for their relationship and personal values. Her assumption that we should automatically fund an $85,000 wedding without discussion or negotiation revealed her sense of entitlement to family financial resources and her expectation that marriage to David provided her with access to unlimited funding for her social climbing and lifestyle enhancement goals. Jessica, that's a substantial budget for a wedding celebration, I observed, testing whether she had considered the financial implications of her expectations or understood that access to family wealth required family discussion and consensus, rather than automatic approval for expensive projects that served individual agenda rather than genuine family priorities. Have you and David discussed what type of celebration would be most meaningful for your relationship and compatible with your own financial resources and long-term financial planning goals? Wedding celebrations can be beautiful and memorable at many different budget levels, and the most important consideration is creating an event that reflects your actual values and relationship rather than social expectations or status considerations. Mrs. Whitfield, I understand that wedding costs can seem high, but I also think it's important to recognize that this celebration represents a significant investment in family social relationships and community connections that will benefit everyone involved, Jessica replied with sophisticated logic that reframed her expensive expectations as strategic investment rather than personal indulgence or social climbing agenda. A well-planned, elegant wedding celebration creates opportunities for networking with influential community members, showcases family success and social position, and establishes the kind of reputation for hosting sophisticated events that enhances business relationships and charitable activities. The wedding investment will generate returns through improved social connections and community leadership opportunities that justify the initial expense. Jessica was systematically reframing her desire for an expensive, high-profile wedding as A business investment that would benefit our entire family through enhanced social connections and community relationships, rather than acknowledging that her primary motivation was personal status enhancement and social climbing through association with our family's wealth and reputation. She was presenting her expensive wedding vision as strategic thinking about family social capital while actually pursuing personal agenda for lifestyle upgrading and social advancement. But what made Jessica's approach to wedding planning particularly concerning was her immediate assumption that she held decision-making authority over venue selection, vendor choices, guest lists, and celebration details without consulting family members about preferences, traditions, or values that should guide such important family milestone events. She began making preliminary arrangements and commitments with vendors before discussing options with David or family members, apparently assuming that her event planning experience qualified her to make unilateral decisions about celebrations that would affect our entire family's social relationships and financial resources. "I've already scheduled appointments with 3 potential venues for next week," Jessica announced during our February family dinner, "and I think it would be most efficient if I handle the initial vendor meetings and venue evaluations since I have professional experience with event coordination and I understand what kind of venues and services would create the appropriate level of elegance and sophistication for this celebration." "Jessica, don't you think David should be involved in venue selection since this is his wedding celebration?" Charles asked, immediately recognizing the concerning implications of her assumption that she could make major wedding decisions without meaningful input from the person she was supposedly marrying for love rather than social advancement and family resource access. "Of course David will be involved in the final decisions," Jessica replied with assurance that sounded reasonable but actually revealed her expectation that David would simply approve choices she had already made based on her own priorities and vision rather than genuinely collaborating on decisions that reflected both of their preferences and values. "But David has demanding professional responsibilities with his architectural projects, and I have more experience with event planning and vendor coordination. It makes sense for me to handle the preliminary research and narrow down the options to the best choices, so David can focus on the final selection from venues and services that I've already verified meet our standards for quality and appropriateness." Jessica was systematically positioning herself as the primary decision-maker for wedding planning while presenting this arrangement as efficient coordination rather than acknowledging that she was excluding David from meaningful participation in planning his own wedding celebration because his involvement might result in choices that conflicted with her vision for social climbing and status enhancement through expensive, high-profile event planning. During March 2023, Jessica's wedding planning activities revealed the extent of her manipulation strategy and her assumptions about her authority over family social events and financial decisions. Instead of collaborating with family members on wedding planning or considering our preferences and traditions, she began making unilateral commitments with vendors and venues while presenting these decisions as preliminary arrangements that could be modified if family members had concerns or suggestions. But her vendor selections and venue choices revealed that she was prioritizing maximum social impact and networking opportunities over genuine celebration of her relationship with David or respect for family values and traditions that had guided previous milestone events throughout our family's history. Every decision seemed calculated to enhance her social status and create opportunities for relationship building with influential community members rather than creating meaningful celebration that honored family relationships and genuine commitment. "I wanted to update everyone on the wedding planning progress," Jessica announced during our March family dinner, "and I'm excited to share that I've secured some really impressive vendors and services that will create an absolutely stunning celebration. I've put deposits down with Belmont Catering, which exclusively serves high-end events for the state's most prominent families, and I've reserved the ballroom at the Connecticut River Club, which is considered one of the most prestigious venues in the region." Jessica, did you discuss these vendor selections and venue choices with David before making deposits and commitments? I asked, concerned about her apparent decision to make major financial commitments without consulting the person she was supposedly marrying or the family members who would be funding these expensive arrangements. "David has been so busy with his architectural projects that I didn't want to burden him with vendor research and comparison shopping," Jessica replied with logic that made her exclusion of David from wedding planning sound like considerate partnership rather than control and manipulation. "I used my event planning experience to identify the best options available, and I'm confident that David will love the venues and services I've selected. These vendors represent the highest quality available in our region, and they specialize in creating the kind of elegant, sophisticated celebrations that reflect family success and social position." Jessica was revealing that she had made substantial financial commitments and major wedding decisions without consulting David or family members, while presenting this unilateral decision-making as efficient planning and consideration for David's work schedule rather than acknowledging that she was systematically excluding him from planning his own wedding because his involvement might result in choices that conflicted with her social climbing agenda and status enhancement goals. But more concerning was her immediate assumption that family wealth was available to fund whatever vendors and venues she selected without discussion about budget parameters, family financial priorities, or the appropriateness of using family resources for expensive social events that served her personal agenda rather than genuine family celebration and relationship building. When Charles asked for specific cost information about the vendors and venues Jessica had selected, her response revealed the extent of her expectations about family financial resources and her assumptions about automatic funding for expensive wedding arrangements that she had made without consulting family members about affordability or appropriateness. The catering contract is $28,000 for 200 guests, which includes premium menu options and top-shelf bar service, Jessica explained with obvious pride in having secured high-end vendors and services, and the venue rental is $15,000 for the ballroom and gardens, which includes ceremony and reception space with premium lighting and audio systems. I've also arranged for Hartley Photography, which charges $8,500 for comprehensive wedding documentation, and Elegant Affairs Floral Design, which will cost approximately $12,000 for ceremony and reception arrangements that will create absolutely stunning visual impact. Jessica was casually announcing wedding expenses totaling over $63,500 for basic venue and vendor services, without including additional costs for music, transportation, accommodations, wedding attire, or dozens of other expenses that would likely bring the total wedding cost to well over $85,000. While presenting these commitments as accomplished facts rather than proposals for family discussion and financial planning. Jessica, these are very expensive vendor selections, and you've apparently made financial commitments without discussing budget parameters with family members who would be funding these arrangements, Charles observed with obvious concern about her assumptions regarding family financial resources and her unilateral decision-making about major expenses that would affect our family's financial planning and resource allocation. Have you considered whether these vendor costs are appropriate for your personal budget and long-term financial goals, or whether there might be equally beautiful but more affordable options that would create meaningful celebration without requiring such substantial financial investment from family resources? Mr. Whitfield, I understand that wedding costs can seem high to people who aren't familiar with current market rates for premium event services, Jessica replied with condescending logic that suggested Charles's concerns about her expensive vendor selections reflected lack of sophistication about event planning rather than reasonable questions about financial responsibility and family resource management. But I also think it's important to recognize that David deserves a wedding celebration that reflects his professional success and your family's social position rather than choosing vendors based solely on cost considerations that might compromise the quality and elegance of this important milestone. This is a once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to create something truly special and memorable that honors David's achievements and your family's community standing. Jessica was systematically dismissing family concerns about her expensive wedding arrangements while presenting her costly vendor selections as appropriate recognition of David's success and our family's social position, rather than acknowledging that her primary motivation was creating an expensive, high-profile social event that would enhance her own status and provide networking opportunities with influential community members who would advance her social climbing goals. More troubling was her assumption that questioning her expensive vendor choices reflected lack of sophistication about event planning rather than legitimate concerns about financial responsibility, family budget priorities, and the appropriateness of using substantial family resources for celebrations that served personal agenda rather than genuine family values and relationship building. During April 2023, Jessica's wedding planning activities escalated to include systematic efforts to control guest list development and invitation management while positioning herself as the primary coordinator for all wedding-related family communications and social arrangements. Her approach to guest list planning revealed her fundamental misunderstanding of family relationships and her assumptions about using our wedding celebration as an opportunity for her own networking and social advancement rather than honoring genuine family connections and meaningful relationships. I've been working on the guest list development, and I think we should focus on creating opportunities for meaningful networking and relationship building with influential community members rather than simply inviting everyone we know, Jessica announced during our April family dinner, immediately revealing that she viewed guest list planning as strategic social coordination rather than celebration with people who cared about David and our family. I've researched the social connections and community involvement of potential guests, And I think we should prioritize inviting people who could enhance our family's social network and create business opportunities while ensuring that the celebration includes the kind of influential attendees who would make the event more prestigious and socially significant. Jessica, wedding guest lists should primarily include family members and close friends who have meaningful relationships with you and David rather than being organized as networking opportunities, I explained, concerned about her strategic approach to invitation planning and her assumptions about using our family celebration for her personal social climbing and relationship building agenda. The most important guests are people who genuinely care about your happiness and David's well-being, regardless of their social status or potential business value. Wedding celebrations should focus on sharing joy with people who have supported your relationship and who will continue to be part of your lives based on authentic friendship and family connection rather than professional networking potential. Mrs. Whitfield, I understand the importance of including family and close friends, Jessica agreed with diplomatic acknowledgement, but I also think it's important to recognize that wedding celebrations provide opportunities to strengthen existing relationships and build new connections with people who could enhance our social and professional networks in ways that benefit everyone involved. David's architectural career could benefit from relationships with potential clients and professional contacts, and your family's community involvement could be enhanced through connections with other influential families and cultural organization leaders. I think we should approach guest list planning strategically to maximize both personal celebration and networking opportunities that create long-term value for our family's social and professional relationships. Jessica was systematically reframing wedding guest list planning as strategic networking coordination rather than acknowledging that her primary motivation was using our family celebration as an opportunity to build relationships with influential people who could advance her social climbing goals and provide access to exclusive social circles that she couldn't access through her own achievements or social connections. But what made Jessica's approach to guest list development particularly concerning was her assumption that she held primary authority over invitation decisions and family communication about wedding arrangements, despite being the newest member of our family with the least understanding of our long-term relationships and social connections that had developed over decades of community involvement and genuine friendship building. I think it would be most efficient if I coordinate all wedding invitation management and guest communication, Jessica announced during our discussion about invitation planning and wedding coordination responsibilities. I have experience with event management and social coordination, and I understand the kind of professional, elegant communication style that would be appropriate for a celebration of this caliber and social significance. Jessica, our family has long-standing relationships and communication patterns with friends and relatives who should be involved in wedding planning discussions, Charles replied, immediately recognizing the concerning implications of her assumption that she could manage all family communication about wedding arrangements without understanding our existing relationships and social connections. Many of our close friends and family members would expect to hear about wedding plans directly from family members rather than through someone they don't know well, and wedding planning should include input and involvement from people who have supported David throughout his life rather than being managed solely by event planning coordination and professional communication protocols. Mr. Whitfield, I appreciate your family's long-standing relationships, but I also think it's important to ensure that all wedding communication maintains consistent messaging and professional presentation standards that reflect the quality and elegance of the celebration we're planning, Jessica replied with confident authority about communication management that revealed her assumptions about controlling family relationships and social interactions related to wedding planning. Different family members might communicate inconsistent information about wedding details, venue arrangements, or celebration expectations that could create confusion or undermine the sophisticated image we want to project through this important family milestone. Professional event coordination requires centralized communication management to ensure that all guests receive accurate, elegant information that reflects the quality and prestige of the celebration. Jessica was systematically positioning herself as the primary coordinator for all family communication about wedding arrangements while presenting this control as professional event management rather than acknowledging that she was attempting to manage and limit family members' direct communication with friends and relatives who had long-standing relationships that preceded her involvement in our family. More concerning was her assumption that our existing family communication patterns and relationships were inadequate for wedding coordination and required her professional management to maintain sophisticated image and prestige rather than recognizing that authentic family relationships and genuine communication were more important than polished presentation and strategic image management. During May 2023, Jessica's wedding planning manipulation reached new levels of aggressive control and family authority assumptions as she began making decisions about wedding ceremony details, family role assignments, and celebration protocols. That revealed her systematic efforts to marginalize my participation in the wedding while positioning herself as the primary authority over what should have been a collaborative family celebration that honored both families' traditions and values. Her approach to ceremony planning revealed the calculated nature of her strategy for establishing dominance within our family hierarchy while minimizing the visibility and influence of family members who might challenge her authority or limit her control over wedding arrangements and future family social events that she viewed as opportunities for social climbing and status enhancement. I've been working with the ceremony coordinator at Connecticut River Club to finalize the wedding ceremony details, and I think we should streamline the traditional family participation elements to create a more elegant, sophisticated ceremony that focuses on the couple rather than extensive family involvement that might complicate the proceedings or detract from the romantic atmosphere, Jessica announced during our May family dinner. Traditional elements like extended family processionals, multiple family readings, and lengthy family participation segments can make ceremonies feel more like family reunions than elegant wedding celebrations. I think we should focus on creating a refined, romantic ceremony that emphasizes the couple's commitment while maintaining the sophisticated tone appropriate for a celebration of this caliber and social significance. Jessica, family participation in wedding ceremonies is an important tradition that honors the relationships and support systems that have contributed to David's development and your integration into our family, I replied, immediately recognizing that her suggestion to minimize family involvement was actually an attempt to reduce my visibility and participation in the wedding celebration. Wedding ceremonies should acknowledge the family members who have supported the couple and who will continue to be part of their lives, rather than treating family relationships as complications that detract from ceremony elegance. Family participation creates meaningful connections and honors the relationships that make marriage celebrations significant beyond simple romantic commitment. Mrs. Whitfield, I certainly appreciate the importance of family support and relationships, Jessica agreed with diplomatic acknowledgement that sounded appropriate but was immediately followed by justification for minimizing family involvement, based on ceremony elegance and professional event management considerations. But I also think it's important to ensure that ceremony elements contribute to overall celebration quality rather than including traditional components simply because they've been done in the past. Modern wedding ceremonies can honor family relationships while maintaining sophisticated presentation standards that create memorable experiences for all guests rather than extended family participation segments that might test guests' attention spans or detract from the romantic focus of the celebration. Jessica was systematically reframing family tradition and meaningful participation as outdated complications that would compromise ceremony quality, rather than acknowledging that her primary motivation was reducing family member visibility and control over wedding arrangements that she wanted to manage independently according to her own social climbing agenda and status enhancement goals. But what made her approach to ceremony planning particularly revealing was her specific suggestions about modifying traditional mother of the groom responsibilities and participation elements that would directly affect my role in David's wedding celebration and my visibility during what should have been one of the most important family milestones of our lives. I think we should also consider updating some of the traditional mother of the groom responsibilities to better reflect modern family dynamics and ceremony coordination needs, Jessica continued, revealing the specific nature of her strategy for marginalizing my participation in David's wedding celebration. Traditional mother of the groom roles can sometimes create confusion about coordination responsibilities and family hierarchy during wedding planning and celebration management. I think it would be more efficient and elegant if I handle most of the traditional family coordination responsibilities while family members focus on enjoying the celebration rather than managing logistics and ceremony details that require professional event planning experience. Jessica was directly proposing to assume traditional mother of the groom responsibilities while presenting this power grab as modern efficiency and professional event management rather than acknowledging that she was attempting to replace me in significant family role during my own son's wedding celebration because my participation might limit her control over wedding arrangements and family relationship management. Jessica, mother of the groom traditions exist because they honor important family relationships and provide meaningful ways for mothers to participate in their son's wedding celebrations, I explained, testing whether she understood the significance of what she was proposing or recognized the emotional and family relationship implications of her suggestion to assume my traditional role in David's wedding. These traditions aren't simply logistical responsibilities that can be reassigned based on event planning experience, they represent family bonds, generational connections, and the recognition of relationships that have shaped David's life and continue to be important to his emotional well-being and family identity. Wedding traditions honor these relationships rather than treating family participation as coordination tasks to be managed efficiently. I understand that these traditions have sentimental value, Jessica replied with a kind of diplomatic acknowledgement. That suggested she was saying what she thought I wanted to hear rather than expressing genuine understanding of family relationships and traditional significance. But I also think it's important to adapt traditions to current circumstances and practical needs rather than maintaining traditional elements that might create coordination challenges or limit the professional quality of ceremony management. David deserves a wedding celebration that prioritizes his happiness and celebration quality over traditional protocols that might complicate event coordination or create family stress during what should be a joyful milestone. Jessica was using David's happiness and celebration quality as justification for marginalizing my participation in his wedding while presenting her power grab as consideration for his well-being rather than acknowledging that her primary motivation was establishing her dominance over family social events and reducing family member influence over arrangements that she wanted to control according to her own agenda for social climbing and status enhancement. During our family discussion about Jessica's ceremony planning proposals and her suggestions for modifying traditional family participation elements, David's response revealed his growing awareness of Jessica's manipulation tactics and his discomfort with her systematic efforts to exclude family members from meaningful participation in his own wedding celebration. Jessica, I want my mother to have all the traditional mother of the groom responsibilities and participation opportunities, David said with firmness that revealed his recognition of the concerning implications of Jessica's proposals and his commitment to honoring family relationships despite her pressure to prioritize her event planning vision over family traditions and meaningful participation. My wedding celebration should include full family participation and traditional elements that honor the relationships and support systems that have been important throughout my life. I don't want to modify traditional family roles or reduce family participation for efficiency or professional event management considerations that treat family relationships as logistical complications rather than recognizing their fundamental importance to this celebration. David, I was just trying to ensure that our wedding celebration achieves the highest possible quality and sophistication, Jessica replied with defensive logic that framed her attempts to marginalize family participation as consideration for celebration excellence rather than acknowledging that her proposals were motivated by personal agenda for control and family hierarchy establishment. I want everything to be perfect for our special day, and sometimes traditional elements need to be adapted to ensure that modern celebrations meet contemporary standards for elegance and professional event coordination. I was thinking about what would create the most beautiful and memorable celebration rather than simply following traditional protocols that might not be optimal for our specific circumstances and celebration goals. Jessica was refusing to acknowledge that her proposals to minimize family participation and assume traditional mother of the groom responsibilities were inappropriate attempts to marginalize my role in David's wedding while continuing to present her manipulation tactics as consideration for celebration quality and professional event management rather than recognizing that her primary motivation was establishing control over family social events and inheritance positioning. The confrontation over ceremony planning and family participation roles became the first clear indication that Jessica's wedding planning strategy was actually a systematic campaign to establish her dominance over family social arrangements while minimizing family member influence over celebrations and traditions that she viewed as obstacles to her social climbing agenda and inheritance expectations. But what Jessica had never suspected was that her wedding planning manipulation and systematic efforts to marginalize my participation in David's celebration were being carefully documented and evaluated by someone with 4 decades of professional experience in recognizing exactly these types of family exploitation patterns and inheritance theft strategies. Her assumptions about my powerlessness and her calculated efforts to erase me from family social events would soon trigger consequences that would destroy everything she thought she was gaining through marriage and family manipulation, the wedding. That Jessica viewed as her opportunity to establish permanent dominance over family social arrangements and inheritance expectations was actually becoming the final test of her character, and her decision to humiliate and replace me during what should have been a celebration of family unity would cost her access to the $3.2 million inheritance she assumed would provide lifetime financial security and social status through her marriage to David. The morning of Saturday, June 18, 2023, began with what seemed like routine wedding day preparation activities, but would end with the most expensive lesson about family exploitation and inheritance assumptions ever delivered in a single day, as Jessica's calculated plan to completely erase me from my son's wedding celebration would trigger consequences that would destroy her financial future, social aspirations, and access to the $3.2 million inheritance she believed would provide lifetime security and status through her marriage into our established family wealth and community standing. At 7:30 a.m., as I was preparing for what should have been one of the most joyful and meaningful Days of my life, watching my son marry someone I had hoped would become a genuine daughter and long-term family member. Jessica arrived at our home with a team of professional coordinators, photographers, and vendors who immediately began implementing wedding day arrangements that I had never seen or approved, revealing the extent of her secret planning and her systematic efforts to exclude me from meaningful participation in David's wedding celebration. Mrs. Whitfield, I hope you don't mind, but I've arranged for some additional wedding day coordination services to ensure that everything runs smoothly and professionally, Jessica announced as a team of strangers began rearranging our home's main areas and setting up professional lighting and photography equipment without asking permission or consulting family members about these arrangements. I hired Prestige Wedding Coordination to manage all the logistical details and family scheduling for today, so everyone can focus on enjoying the celebration rather than worrying about timing, transportation, or vendor coordination that requires professional event management experience and systematic organization. But as I observed the coordination services Jessica had arranged, it became clear that these weren't simply logistical support arrangements, they were systematic efforts to control every aspect of wedding day activities while marginalizing my participation and establishing Jessica as the primary authority over family members' schedules, transportation, and even our access to different areas of our own home during wedding preparation activities. Mrs. Whitfield, according to our wedding day timeline, you're scheduled for hair and makeup at 9 a.m., photography sessions from 10:30 to 11:15 a.m., and then transition to guest preparation activities while the bridal party completes their preparation sequence, announced Sandra Morrison, the lead wedding coordinator whom Jessica had hired without consulting family members about professional services or coordination arrangements. We'll need you to limit your time in the main preparation areas after 11:30 a.m. so the bridal party can have exclusive access to optimal lighting and space arrangements for their extended photography and preparation requirements. The bride has requested minimal family interaction during her preparation time to maintain focus and reduce stress during this important milestone. I was being systematically scheduled and limited in my own home by strangers who were implementing Jessica's wedding day plan to minimize my presence and participation while ensuring that she maintained complete control over family activities and wedding preparation arrangements. The coordination services weren't designed to support family celebration, they were designed to manage and contain family members who might interfere with Jessica's vision for wedding day hierarchy and her systematic marginalization of my traditional mother of the groom role. Sandra, I wasn't aware that Jessica had hired professional coordinators to manage family activities in our home, I replied, testing whether these arrangements had been discussed with David or whether Jessica had made unilateral decisions about wedding day management and family coordination without consulting the people she was supposedly serving. Can you explain what coordination services are being provided and why family members need to be scheduled and limited in our own home during wedding preparation activities? I was planning to be available for David and to participate in traditional family preparation activities rather than being managed through professional coordination protocols. Mrs. Whitfield, the bride has requested comprehensive coordination services to ensure that wedding day activities proceed smoothly and professionally without the confusion and stress that can result from multiple family members trying to coordinate activities simultaneously, Sandra explained with the diplomatic authority of someone who had been thoroughly briefed by Jessica about managing family dynamics and potential resistance to professional coordination arrangements. Professional wedding coordination ensures that everyone knows their schedules and responsibilities while preventing the miscommunication and timing conflicts that can create stress and reduce celebration quality when family members attempt to manage complex logistics without professional event planning experience and systematic organization protocols. Sandra was essentially explaining that Jessica had hired professional coordinators to manage family members as potential problems who might disrupt her wedding day vision through their natural desire to participate in traditional family celebration activities and maintain normal family relationships during this important milestone event. But the most revealing aspect of Jessica's wedding day coordination arrangements was the systematic way they excluded me from meaningful participation in traditional mother of the groom activities while ensuring that Jessica maintained complete control over family interactions, vendor management, and celebration arrangements that should have been collaborative family experiences rather than professionally managed events designed to minimize family member influence and participation. Mrs. Whitfield, we also need to discuss the transportation arrangements for family members, Sandra continued with her systematic presentation of Jessica's wedding day control measures. The bride has arranged for professional transportation services that will ensure everyone arrives at the ceremony venue on schedule and appropriately coordinated. You're scheduled for transportation departure at 2 p.m., which will arrive at Connecticut River Club at 2:30 p.m. for guest seating and pre-ceremony activities. The bridal party and immediate family members have separate transportation schedules that allow for extended photography and coordination requirements that need to be completed before general guest arrival and ceremony commencement. I was being assigned to guest transportation rather than immediate family arrangements, despite being the mother of the groom and traditionally one of the most important family members at wedding celebrations. Jessica's transportation coordination was systematically categorizing me as a general guest rather than recognizing my traditional role and ensuring my appropriate participation in family photography, ceremony preparation, and pre-wedding activities that honored family relationships and traditional wedding protocols. Sandra, I'm David's mother, which traditionally means I would be included in immediate family transportation and preparation activities rather than being categorized with general guests, I observed, testing whether Sandra understood the concerning implications of Jessica's coordination arrangements or whether she was simply implementing instructions without considering family relationship appropriateness and traditional wedding role recognition. Can you explain why mother of the groom transportation and scheduling has been separated from immediate family arrangements, and whether these coordination decisions were discussed with David or other family members who might have preferences about traditional family participation and wedding day protocols? Mrs. Whitfield, the bride has requested transportation arrangements that optimize efficiency and minimize stress for immediate family members who have extensive preparation requirements and professional photography commitments, Sandra replied with careful language that avoided directly acknowledging that Jessica had systematically excluded me from immediate family categorization while presenting this exclusion as logistical optimization rather than deliberate marginalization. The coordination arrangements ensure that everyone receives appropriate transportation services while allowing immediate family members and bridal party participants to complete their preparation activities and photography requirements without scheduling conflicts or timing pressures that could create stress during this important celebration. Sandra was systematically avoiding acknowledging that I was being excluded from immediate family arrangements while using professional coordination language to obscure the fact that Jessica had deliberately removed me from traditional mother of the groom participation and recognition during David's wedding celebration. At 9:45 a.m., as I was completing the hair and makeup appointment that Jessica's coordinators had scheduled for me, I received the first direct indication of the systematic betrayal that was being implemented while I was being managed through professional coordination services that kept me separated from wedding preparation activities and family consultation about important celebration decisions. David called my cell phone with obvious distress and confusion about wedding day arrangements that he was discovering for the first time, revealing that Jessica had been making major wedding day decisions without consulting him or informing family members about significant changes to traditional celebration protocols and family participation arrangements. Mom, I just found out that Jessica hired security services for the wedding, and they're saying that there are special protocols for family member access to ceremony and reception areas, David explained with obvious concern about arrangements he had never discussed or approved. The security coordinator is telling me that some family members have limited access to certain areas of the venue, and that there are specific seating arrangements and participation restrictions that weren't part of our original wedding planning discussions. David, what kind of security services and access restrictions are being implemented? I asked, immediately recognizing that Jessica's security arrangements were likely another layer of her systematic plan to control family participation and limit my access to traditional mother of the groom activities and recognition during the wedding celebration. I don't know all the details because Jessica is handling the coordination with the security company, but they mentioned something about protecting the celebration quality and ensuring that disruptive family dynamics don't interfere with professional event management. David continued with increasing anxiety about wedding arrangements that seemed designed to treat family members as potential problems rather than honored guests and participants. Mom, I never agreed to security restrictions on family members, and I don't understand why our wedding needs professional security management unless Jessica is planning something that she hasn't discussed with me. This feels like she's treating our wedding as a business event rather than a family celebration, and I'm starting to worry about what other arrangements she's made without telling me. David was discovering that Jessica had systematically planned and implemented wedding day arrangements that he had never seen or approved, while using professional coordination services to manage and limit family member participation in ways that contradicted his explicit instructions about maintaining traditional family roles and inclusive celebration protocols that honored family relationships and wedding traditions. David, I think you need to speak directly with Jessica about these coordination arrangements and ensure that wedding day activities reflect your preferences and family values rather than professional event management protocols that treat family Members as logistical challenges, I advised, though I was beginning to understand that Jessica's wedding day coordination was implementing a comprehensive plan that had been designed specifically to marginalize my participation while establishing her complete authority over family activities and celebration management. At 11:30 a.m., I was asked to leave the main preparation areas of our own home so that Jessica's bridal party could have exclusive access to optimal spaces for their extended preparation activities, revealing another layer of her systematic plan to separate me from traditional wedding day family interactions and mother of the groom participation opportunities. Mrs. Whitfield, we need to transition the main preparation areas to bridal party exclusive use for the next 3 hours, Sandra announced with professional authority that made her request sound like reasonable logistical coordination rather than acknowledgement that I was being systematically excluded from my own home during my son's wedding preparation activities. The bride has extensive preparation requirements that need optimal lighting, space, and privacy to ensure professional quality results for photography and coordination activities. We've arranged comfortable space in the guest wing where you can complete your preparation activities without the noise and activity that will be occurring in the main areas during bridal party preparation sequence. I was being relegated to the guest wing of my own home while Jessica and her bridal party took over the main areas where David was also preparing for his wedding, ensuring that I would have minimal interaction with my son during his wedding preparation and no opportunity to participate in traditional family activities that normally occurred during these important pre-ceremony hours. But as I was being escorted to the guest wing by Jessica's professional coordinators, I encountered David in the hallway, and his expression revealed his growing awareness of the systematic exclusion and family marginalization that was being implemented through professional coordination services that he had never requested or approved. "Mom, what's happening with all these coordination arrangements and family scheduling?" David asked with obvious confusion and distress about wedding day activities that were clearly not reflecting his preferences or family values. Jessica told me that professional coordination would make everything run smoothly, but it feels like family members are being managed and separated rather than being able to participate naturally in wedding preparation and family time. "I wanted to spend time with you this morning and include you in preparation activities, but the coordinators are saying that family interaction needs to be scheduled and limited to specific time slots that don't interfere with professional photography and bridal party preparation requirements. This doesn't feel like the kind of family wedding celebration we discussed during planning." David was recognizing that Jessica's professional coordination was systematically preventing normal family interaction and traditional wedding day activities that should have allowed family members to support each other and share in the excitement and preparation of this important milestone celebration. "David, I think Jessica has arranged coordination services that prioritize professional event management over family relationships and traditional wedding protocols," I explained, testing whether he understood the implications of the systematic family exclusion and marginalization that was being implemented through coordination arrangements that treated family members as obstacles to professional event quality. Professional coordination should support family celebration rather than replacing family interaction with managed scheduling and access restrictions that prevent traditional family participation and mother of the groom involvement in wedding preparation activities. "Mom, I'm going to talk to Jessica about these coordination arrangements because this isn't what I wanted for our wedding celebration," David said with determination that revealed his commitment to maintaining family relationships and traditional celebration protocols despite Jessica's systematic efforts to control family participation and wedding day activities. But when David attempted to discuss coordination arrangements with Jessica, her response revealed the calculated nature of her wedding day control strategy and her assumptions about her authority over family members and celebration management. Decisions that should have been collaborative rather than unilateral professional event coordination. "David, I've spent months planning every detail of our wedding celebration to ensure that everything is perfect and professional," Jessica replied with defensive authority when David questioned the coordination arrangements and family access restrictions that were being implemented without his knowledge or approval. "Professional coordination ensures that our celebration achieves the highest possible quality and sophistication rather than allowing family dynamics and traditional protocols to create confusion or reduce the elegance and prestige of this important social event. I want our wedding to set new standards for celebration excellence rather than simply following traditional family patterns that might not meet contemporary standards for sophisticated event management." Jessica was systematically dismissing David's concerns about family exclusion while presenting her coordination arrangements as sophisticated event management rather than acknowledging that her primary motivation was establishing complete control over family activities while marginalizing family members who might challenge her authority or limit her dominance over wedding celebration and family social arrangements. At 1:45 p.m., as I was preparing to leave for the ceremony venue according to Jessica's coordination schedule that assigned me to guest transportation rather than immediate family arrangements, I received a phone call that would reveal the final phase of Jessica's systematic betrayal and her ultimate plan to completely erase me from David's wedding celebration while establishing herself as the sole maternal figure recognized during ceremony and reception activities. Mrs. Whitfield, this is Rebecca Chen from Connecticut River Club Coordination Services, the caller announced with professional authority that immediately indicated another layer of Jessica's wedding day coordination and family management strategy. I'm calling to confirm some last-minute changes to family participation arrangements for this afternoon's ceremony that the bride has requested to optimize celebration quality and professional presentation standards. The bride has requested modifications to traditional family seating arrangements and ceremony participation protocols to create a more streamlined and elegant celebration that focuses on immediate family members and reduces potential confusion or coordination challenges that could affect ceremony quality and professional photography requirements. Rebecca was announcing last-minute changes to family participation arrangements that would obviously affect my role and recognition during David's wedding ceremony, while presenting these modifications as optimization for celebration quality. Rather than acknowledging that Jessica was implementing systematic changes designed to exclude me from traditional mother of the groom recognition and participation. Rebecca, what specific changes to family participation are being implemented? I asked, though I was beginning to understand that Jessica's last-minute modifications were likely the culmination of her systematic plan to marginalize my role and establish herself as the primary maternal figure recognized during David's wedding celebration. The bride has requested that mother of the groom seating be relocated to enhance optimal photography angles and ceremony sight lines, Rebecca explained with careful professional language that avoided directly acknowledging that my traditional seating was being changed to reduce my visibility and recognition during ceremony activities. Additionally, traditional mother of the groom recognition elements during ceremony proceedings have been modified to streamline celebration flow and reduce ceremony length for optimal guest experience and professional event management efficiency. Rebecca was systematically announcing that I was being removed from traditional mother of the groom seating and recognition during David's wedding ceremony while using professional coordination language to obscure the fact that Jessica was implementing deliberate exclusion and marginalization rather than legitimate optimization for celebration quality. Rebecca, these changes to mother of the groom participation and recognition seem to contradict traditional wedding protocols and family relationship acknowledgement, I observed, testing whether she understood the concerning implications of Jessica's last-minute modifications or whether she was simply implementing instructions without considering family relationship appropriateness and traditional wedding role recognition. Can you explain the specific reasons for these changes and whether they were discussed with the groom or other family members who might have preferences about traditional family participation and ceremony protocols? Mrs. Whitfield, these modifications were requested by the bride to ensure optimal celebration quality and professional presentation standards, Rebecca replied with diplomatic authority that avoided acknowledging family relationship implications while presenting Jessica's exclusion arrangements as professional event management rather than family marginalization and traditional role elimination. The bride has extensive experience with event coordination and understands the arrangements that create the most elegant and sophisticated celebration experiences for all participants and guests. These modifications ensure that ceremony activities proceed smoothly and professionally while maintaining optimal focus on celebration quality and prestige. Rebecca was systematically avoiding acknowledging that Jessica had unilaterally modified traditional mother of the groom participation without consulting David or considering family relationship implications, while using professional event management language to justify systematic exclusion and role elimination. At 2:15 p.m., as I arrived at Connecticut River Club according to Jessica's coordination schedule that assigned me to guest rather than immediate family arrangements, I discovered the full extent of her systematic betrayal and her ultimate plan to completely replace me as the recognized maternal figure during David's wedding celebration. Upon entering the venue, I was immediately approached by venue security personnel who informed me that there were special access protocols for family members that had been arranged by the bride to ensure optimal celebration management and professional event coordination without disruption or confusion that could affect ceremony quality and guest experience. Mrs. Whitfield, we have specific instructions regarding your access to ceremony and reception areas, announced James Morrison, the head of venue security services that Jessica had hired without consulting family members about security arrangements or access restrictions. The bride has requested enhanced coordination protocols to ensure that celebration activities proceed according to professional event management standards without interference or disruption that could affect ceremony quality or professional photography requirements. You're assigned to designated family seating in Section B, which provides excellent ceremony viewing while maintaining optimal sight lines for professional photography and videography services that require unobstructed access to primary ceremony participants and traditional recognition elements. James was announcing that I was being assigned to secondary seating rather than traditional mother of the groom placement, while using professional coordination language to obscure the fact that Jessica was systematically removing me from traditional recognition and participation during David's wedding ceremony. But as I was being escorted to the designated family seating, that effectively eliminated my traditional mother of the groom visibility and recognition, I observed Jessica's final preparation activities and discovered the ultimate scope of her systematic betrayal and replacement strategy that would complete her plan to erase me from David's wedding celebration. Jessica had arranged for a woman I had never seen before to be positioned in traditional mother of the groom seating and recognition roles, while coordinating with professional photographers to ensure that this substitute maternal figure would be documented and recognized as David's family representative during ceremony activities and traditional family photography sessions. Who is the woman being positioned in mother of the groom seating and participation roles? I asked venue coordination staff, though I was beginning to understand that Jessica had not only marginalized my participation but had actually arranged for someone else to replace me entirely during David's wedding ceremony and traditional family recognition activities. That's Mrs. Patricia Hartford, the bride's aunt, who will be serving as family representative and maternal figure for ceremony proceedings, explained venue coordinator Lisa Chen, revealing the full scope of Jessica's systematic betrayal and family replacement strategy. The bride requested that Mrs. Hartford assume traditional maternal responsibilities and recognition elements to ensure optimal family representation and coordination during ceremony activities and professional photography requirements. Jessica had systematically arranged for her own aunt to replace me as the recognized maternal figure during David's wedding ceremony, while using professional coordination services to manage my exclusion and ensure that I would be treated as a secondary guest rather than being recognized in my traditional mother of the groom role during my own son's wedding celebration. At 2:45 p.m., as wedding ceremony activities began and I watched from secondary seating while Jessica's aunt was recognized and honored in my traditional mother of the groom role, I observed David's growing distress and confusion about ceremony arrangements that clearly contradicted his explicit instructions about family participation and traditional wedding protocols. During the ceremony processional, when Jessica's aunt was escorted to mother of the groom seating while I remained in secondary guest seating, David's expression revealed his shock and dismay about family arrangements that he had obviously never discussed or approved, and his recognition that Jessica had systematically betrayed his trust and family values through coordination arrangements that prioritized her control over family relationships and traditional celebration protocols. "Mom?" David called out when he realized I wasn't in traditional mother of the groom seating, his voice carrying across the ceremony venue with obvious distress about family arrangements that contradicted everything he had requested about inclusive family participation and traditional wedding role recognition. But venue security personnel immediately approached David to maintain ceremony decorum and prevent disruption of professional proceedings, revealing that Jessica had arranged security protocols specifically designed to prevent David from modifying ceremony arrangements or challenging the systematic family exclusion and replacement that she had implemented without his knowledge or consent. "Sir, we need to maintain ceremony proceedings according to professional coordination requirements," security personnel informed David when he attempted to address family seating arrangements and ensure my appropriate recognition during his wedding ceremony. The bride has arranged comprehensive coordination services to ensure that ceremony activities proceed smoothly and professionally without disruption or modification that could affect celebration quality and professional documentation requirements. David was being prevented by Jessica's security arrangements from correcting family participation and ensuring my traditional mother of the groom recognition during his own wedding ceremony, while Jessica's systematic coordination ensured that her aunt would be documented and recognized as the maternal figure during ceremony activities and traditional family photography sessions. At 3:30 p.m. During ceremony reception activities where Jessica continued implementing systematic exclusion and marginalization while ensuring that her aunt maintained recognition as the primary maternal figure for family activities and social interactions. David made repeated attempts to include me in traditional family activities and correct the exclusion arrangements that Jessica had implemented without his knowledge or approval, but every attempt David made to restore my traditional mother of the groom Recognition and participation was intercepted by Jessica's professional coordination services, which systematically redirected family activities according to predetermined arrangements that prioritized Jessica's control over traditional family protocols and David's expressed preferences about inclusive celebration and family relationship recognition. David, the bride, has requested that family activities proceed according to professional coordination schedules to ensure optimal celebration flow and guest experience. Coordination staff repeatedly informed David when he attempted to modify arrangements and ensure my appropriate participation in traditional mother of the groom activities during reception, celebration, and family interaction periods. Professional event management requires systematic coordination to maintain celebration quality and prevent confusion or timing conflicts that could affect guest experience, and professional documentation of family activities and milestone recognition elements. David was being systematically prevented from correcting Jessica's exclusion arrangements, while professional coordination services ensured that Jessica's systematic betrayal and family replacement strategy would be maintained throughout reception activities and traditional family celebration protocols. But the ultimate moment of betrayal occurred at 4:30 p.m., when I attempted to participate in traditional mother-son dance activities that should have been among the most meaningful and emotional moments of David's wedding celebration, only to discover that Jessica had arranged for her aunt to assume this traditional role while I was excluded entirely from recognition and participation. When I approached the dance floor during traditional family dance activities, hoping to participate in mother-son dance traditions that honored family relationships and provided meaningful connection during wedding celebrations, Jessica's security personnel immediately intercepted me and informed me that family dance activities were reserved for immediate family participants, according to professional coordination arrangements that the bride had specifically requested. Mrs. Whitfield, family dance activities are limited to immediate family participants according to professional coordination protocols, security personnel informed me when I attempted to participate in traditional mother-son dance activities during my own son's wedding reception. The bride has arranged specific family participation elements that ensure optimal celebration flow and professional documentation without confusion or coordination conflicts that could affect guest experience and celebration quality. I was being physically prevented from participating in traditional mother-son dance activities during David's wedding reception, while Jessica's aunt was positioned and recognized as the appropriate maternal figure for family dance traditions and professional documentation of milestone celebration activities. At that moment, as I watched Jessica's aunt dancing with my son during what should have been our traditional mother-son dance, while I was excluded and marginalized through systematic coordination arrangements that Jessica had implemented without David's knowledge or approval, David's expression revealed his complete understanding of the calculated betrayal and family manipulation that had been orchestrated throughout wedding planning and celebration activities. "Stop the music," David announced with authority that immediately commanded attention from all guests, venue staff, and coordination personnel. "This is my wedding, and I decide who participates in family activities and traditional celebration protocols." David then walked directly to where I was standing in the restricted area where Jessica's security had placed me, extended his hand, and said loudly enough for all guests to hear, "Mom, would you please join me for our traditional mother-son dance, which should have been honored and arranged according to family traditions rather than being replaced by coordination arrangements that I never requested or approved." The moment when David publicly rejected Jessica's systematic exclusion and restored my traditional mother of the groom recognition during family dance activities revealed to all guests the extent of Jessica's betrayal and manipulation, while providing undeniable evidence that her coordination arrangements contradicted David's explicit wishes and family values about inclusive celebration and traditional relationship recognition. But Jessica's response to David's public rejection of her coordination arrangements and his insistence on restoring traditional family participation revealed the ultimate depth of her manipulation strategy and her assumptions about her authority over family relationships and wedding celebration management. "David, we can't disrupt professional coordination arrangements and ceremony protocols that have been planned for months to ensure celebration quality and sophisticated presentation," Jessica responded with obvious anger that her systematic control was being challenged publicly in front of guests who were witnessing her manipulation tactics and family exclusion strategy. Professional event coordination requires systematic management to maintain elegance and prestige rather than modifying arrangements based on emotional reactions that could compromise celebration quality and social presentation standards that reflect our family's position and sophisticated lifestyle choices. Jessica was publicly refusing to acknowledge David's authority over his own wedding celebration while defending coordination arrangements that systematically excluded and marginalized family members according to her personal agenda for social Climbing and family control rather than honoring David's explicit requests about inclusive family participation and traditional celebration protocols, when David insisted on dancing with me despite Jessica's objections and coordination restrictions. Her final response revealed the calculating nature of her family integration strategy and her assumptions about inheritance entitlement that had motivated her systematic manipulation and betrayal throughout courtship, engagement, and wedding planning activities. Fine, David, but I hope you understand that this kind of disregard for professional coordination and sophisticated event management reflects poorly on our family's social position and could affect how community leaders and influential guests perceive our family's commitment to excellence and contemporary celebration standards. Jessica announced loudly enough for guests to hear her criticism of David's decision to honor traditional family relationships over professional coordination arrangements. I've spent months creating a celebration that would establish our family's reputation for sophisticated event hosting and social leadership, and these modifications could undermine the professional impression we're trying to create through elegant coordination and prestigious presentation that reflects our social position and community involvement. Jessica was publicly criticizing David for prioritizing family relationships over her social climbing agenda while revealing that her wedding planning had been motivated by establishing reputation and social leadership, rather than celebrating genuine love and family commitment that honored existing relationships and traditional values. At 6:45 p.m., after the reception concluded and guests departed, David confronted Jessica about the systematic betrayal and family manipulation that had been implemented throughout wedding planning and celebration activities, demanding explanations for coordination arrangements that had systematically excluded family members and contradicted his explicit instructions about inclusive celebration and traditional family recognition. Jessica, I want to understand why you arranged coordination services that excluded my mother from traditional participation and recognition during our wedding celebration, David said with obvious anger about betrayal that had affected the most important milestone of his life and damaged family relationships through systematic manipulation and exclusion. I specifically told you that I wanted full family participation and traditional celebration protocols that honored family relationships, but instead you hired coordination services that treated family members as problems to be managed rather than people to be honored and included in meaningful celebration activities. David, I arranged professional coordination to ensure that our wedding achieved the highest possible standards for elegance and social prestige, Jessica replied with defensive logic that continued framing her manipulation as sophisticated event management rather than acknowledging the calculated nature of her family exclusion and traditional role replacement. Your mother's participation in traditional roles could have created coordination challenges and reduced the professional quality of ceremony and reception activities that needed to maintain sophisticated presentation standards for influential guests and community leaders who were evaluating our family's social position and event hosting capabilities. Jessica was continuing to defend systematic family exclusion while revealing that her primary concern had been impressing influential guests and establishing social position rather than honoring family relationships and creating meaningful celebration that reflected genuine love and commitment to family values and traditional protocols. But David's response revealed his complete understanding of Jessica's manipulation strategy and his recognition that her wedding coordination had been motivated by social climbing agenda rather than genuine commitment to family relationships and collaborative celebration planning that respected existing family values and traditional recognition protocols. Jessica, you systematically excluded my mother from our wedding celebration and replaced her with your aunt in traditional mother of the groom roles without discussing these arrangements with me or considering family relationship implications, David said with finality that indicated his recognition of fundamental betrayal that affected family trust and his understanding of Jessica's true character and motivations. This betrayal reveals that you view family relationships as obstacles to your social agenda rather than recognizing that family commitment and traditional values should be the foundation for marriage and future family development that honors existing relationships while building new connections based on mutual respect and genuine care. David was recognizing that Jessica's systematic family manipulation reflected fundamental character flaws that would affect their marriage relationship and family dynamics in ways that contradicted his values about family loyalty, traditional recognition, and the importance of maintaining inclusive relationships that honored existing family connections while building collaborative approaches to celebration and milestone recognition. The following morning, on Sunday, June 19, 2023, I implemented the comprehensive estate planning changes that I had prepared throughout Jessica's 18-month demonstration of character flaws, manipulation tactics, and systematic family exploitation that had culminated in her ultimate betrayal during David's wedding celebration and her calculated efforts to erase me from traditional family recognition and participation. At 9 a.m., I met with my estate planning attorney, Richard Morrison, and my financial advisor, Patricia Hayes, to execute irrevocable changes to my will, trust structures, and property ownership arrangements that would reflect Jessica's true character as demonstrated through her systematic manipulation and family betrayal during what should have been a celebration of love and family unity. Mr. Morrison, I want to implement immediate and comprehensive changes to all estate planning documents and financial structures that currently provide inheritance benefits to my son and his new wife, I explained during our meeting at Morrison's law offices, where we had prepared documentation that would protect family wealth from Jessica's exploitation while ensuring that genuine family loyalty would be rewarded through inheritance structures that reflected family values and character. Assessment. Yesterday's wedding celebration revealed the culmination of 18 months of systematic manipulation, family exploitation, and calculated efforts to marginalize my participation in family milestone events while positioning herself as primary authority over family social arrangements and inheritance expectations. Mrs. Whitfield, what specific changes are you implementing to your estate planning and inheritance structures? Mr. Morrison asked, though he had been observing Jessica's behavior patterns throughout the engagement period and understood the professional implications of protecting family wealth from individuals who demonstrated patterns of elder manipulation and systematic family exploitation for financial gain. I want to remove both David and Jessica completely from my inheritance arrangements and redirect the entire $3.2 million estate to charitable organizations that support elderly individuals facing family abandonment and manipulation during major life events, I explained, describing the scope of consequences that Jessica's wedding day betrayal had earned through her systematic demonstration of character flaws and family exploitation tactics. Jessica's behavior throughout engagement and wedding planning has revealed that she views elderly family members as obstacles to be managed or eliminated rather than people deserving respect and inclusion in family celebrations and traditional recognition that honors generational relationships and family history. The estate planning changes were implemented immediately and irrevocably, ensuring that Jessica's systematic family manipulation and wedding day betrayal would result in permanent loss of access to inheritance resources that she had assumed would provide lifetime financial security and social status through marriage into established family wealth, but the consequences of Jessica's betrayal extended far beyond inheritance loss to include professional and social ramifications that would affect her career prospects, social connections, and community reputation in ways she had never anticipated when planning her systematic family manipulation and elder exploitation strategy. Within 2 weeks of the wedding, community members who had witnessed Jessica's systematic exclusion of family members during celebration activities began discussing her behavior patterns at social events and charitable organization meetings where our family had established relationships and reputation for family loyalty and inclusive celebration approaches that honored traditional values and generational relationships. Eleanor, I wanted to express my concern about the family dynamics I observed during David's wedding celebration, explained Margaret Sheffield, president of the Hartford Symphony Board, where our family had maintained active involvement and charitable support for over 20 years. Jessica's systematic exclusion of you from traditional mother of the groom recognition and her apparent efforts to replace family participation with professional coordination seemed inconsistent with family values and celebration approaches that honor established relationships and traditional protocols that recognize family contributions and generational connections. Several board members noticed the concerning family arrangements and questioned whether Jessica's approach to family relationships would be compatible with our organization's values about community support, intergenerational cooperation, and the importance of honoring established relationships and traditional protocols that have guided our charitable activities and community involvement for decades. Margaret was diplomatically indicating that Jessica's wedding day behavior had damaged her reputation within community organizations where our family maintained leadership positions and charitable involvement, and that her systematic family manipulation had created concerns about her character and values that would affect future social and professional opportunities within established community networks. Similar conversations occurred within multiple cultural organizations, charitable foundations, and social groups where our family had maintained active involvement and where Jessica had assumed she would gain access to influential relationships and leadership opportunities through marriage to David and association with our family's community reputation and social connections, but instead of gaining access to exclusive social circles and community leadership opportunities. Jessica's wedding day betrayal and systematic family manipulation had created reputation damage that would permanently limit her access to the social advancement and networking opportunities that had motivated her entire courtship and marriage. Strategy: within 1 month of the wedding, David filed for divorce after recognizing that Jessica's systematic family manipulation and calculated betrayal during their wedding celebration reflected fundamental character flaws that would prevent successful marriage based on mutual respect, family loyalty, and shared values about relationship building and community involvement. Mom, I want you to know that I'm filing for divorce and that I understand the extent of Jessica's manipulation and betrayal throughout our entire relationship, David explained during a family conversation where he acknowledged the systematic nature of Jessica's exploitation and his recognition that her behavior patterns would prevent genuine marriage success and family relationship development. Her wedding day arrangements revealed that she had been planning systematic family exclusion and elder marginalization throughout our engagement, while presenting herself as someone who wanted to build inclusive family relationships and honor traditional celebration protocols that recognized existing family connections and generational contributions. I realize now that Jessica never intended to build genuine family relationships or honor family values about mutual respect and inclusive celebration approaches. Her entire strategy was focused on gaining access to inheritance resources and social advancement opportunities while minimizing family member influence and traditional recognition that might limit her control over family wealth and social arrangements. David's recognition of Jessica's systematic manipulation and his decision to file for divorce ensured that her 18-month investment in family integration and social climbing would result in complete loss of access to inheritance resources, community leadership opportunities, and the social advancement that had motivated her calculated courtship and marriage strategy. The divorce proceedings revealed additional evidence of Jessica's financial exploitation and inheritance assumptions, including documented communications where she had discussed our family's wealth and property ownership with personal contacts, revealing that her marriage motivation had been primarily financial rather than emotional commitment to David or genuine integration into family relationships and values. During divorce mediation, when Jessica's attorney attempted to claim entitlement to marital property and spousal support based on her contributions to family social events and community involvement, the evidence of her systematic family manipulation and elder exploitation provided grounds for divorce without financial settlement or spousal support obligations, as Connecticut law recognizes elder abuse and family manipulation as grounds for marriage dissolution without traditional property division or support requirements. Your Honor, Mrs. Hartford's systematic manipulation of family relationships and calculated exploitation of elderly family members throughout the marriage demonstrates a pattern of financial predation that Connecticut General Statutes Section 46B, 40C specifically addresses in terms of protecting family wealth from individuals who use marriage as a vehicle for elder financial abuse and inheritance theft, explained David's attorney during divorce proceedings that documented Jessica's manipulation tactics and family exploitation strategy. The evidence shows that Mrs. Hartford systematically excluded elderly family members from traditional family celebrations while positioning herself to inherit substantial family wealth through manipulation rather than genuine family relationship building and commitment to family values that should guide marriage and inheritance rights. The legal documentation of Jessica's elder exploitation and systematic family manipulation ensured that her divorce settlement would not include access to marital property or ongoing financial support, as Connecticut courts recognize that individuals who demonstrate patterns of family financial abuse forfeit traditional marital property rights and spousal support entitlements. But the ultimate financial consequences of Jessica's wedding day betrayal and systematic family manipulation extended beyond divorce settlement loss to include the complete destruction of her assumptions about lifetime financial security and social advancement through marriage into established family wealth and community leadership opportunities. 6 months after the wedding, when Jessica learned about the comprehensive estate planning changes that had removed her from all inheritance considerations while redirecting family wealth to charitable organizations supporting elderly individuals facing family exploitation and abandonment, her reaction revealed the depth of her miscalculation about family power dynamics and the true cost of systematic elder manipulation and family betrayal. David, you have to convince your mother to restore my inheritance rights and estate planning benefits, Jessica demanded during a phone conversation where she revealed her assumptions about automatic entitlement to family wealth despite her systematic manipulation and family relationship destruction throughout marriage and wedding planning. I invested 18 months building relationships with your family and community connections, and I deserve access to inheritance resources that reflect my contributions to family social events and charitable organization involvement that enhanced your family's community reputation and social leadership position. Jessica was revealing that she had viewed her entire relationship with David as an investment in accessing family wealth rather than genuine commitment to marriage and family relationship building, while assuming that her manipulation tactics and social climbing activities constituted contributions that justified inheritance entitlement regardless of her systematic betrayal and elder exploitation. Jessica, you systematically manipulated family relationships and excluded my mother from traditional recognition during our wedding celebration, David replied with recognition of her calculated manipulation and family exploitation that had motivated her courtship and marriage strategy. Your behavior revealed that you viewed my family as business opportunities rather than building genuine relationships based on mutual respect and shared values. You have no moral or legal claim to inheritance resources from family members you systematically betrayed and exploited for personal financial gain and social advancement. David's recognition of Jessica's manipulation tactics and his refusal to advocate for her inheritance restoration ensured that her wedding day betrayal would result in permanent loss of access to family wealth and the financial security she had assumed would compensate for 18 months of systematic deception and family relationship exploitation. The final revelation of the true scope of Jessica's miscalculation occurred when she learned that the family wealth she had assumed was modest inheritance resources actually represented a sophisticated financial empire that included not only the $3.2 million property portfolio she had known about, but additional trust structures, investment accounts, and charitable foundation assets that totaled over $8.5 million in controlled wealth that she had permanently forfeited through her wedding day betrayal and systematic family manipulation. Mrs. Hartford, I wanted to inform you that the estate planning documents that have excluded you from inheritance consideration also affect additional financial structures that you may not have been aware of during your marriage to David, explained estate attorney Richard Morrison during a consultation that Jessica had requested in hopes of challenging inheritance changes through legal action. Mrs. Whitfield's financial arrangements include multiple trust structures, investment portfolios, and charitable foundation assets that provide comprehensive wealth management and charitable giving coordination worth substantially more than the property portfolio that was discussed during family interactions and wedding planning activities. Your systematic manipulation of family relationships and elder exploitation during wedding celebration activities has resulted in exclusion from all financial structures and inheritance arrangements that might have provided lifetime financial security and social advancement opportunities through association with established family wealth and community leadership involvement. Jessica was learning that her wedding day betrayal had cost her access to financial resources far beyond her assumptions about modest inheritance benefits, and that her calculated manipulation and family exploitation had destroyed opportunities for lifetime financial security that would have exceeded her most optimistic expectations about marriage-based wealth access and social advancement. But perhaps the most devastating consequence of Jessica's systematic family manipulation and wedding day betrayal was the permanent damage to her reputation within community social circles and professional networks where she had assumed marriage to David would provide access to exclusive opportunities and influential relationships that would advance her career and social climbing goals. Within 1 year of the wedding, Jessica's systematic family manipulation and elder exploitation had become widely known throughout Connecticut's cultural organization and charitable foundation communities, where our family had maintained active leadership involvement and where Jessica had expected to gain access to board positions, social leadership opportunities, and networking relationships that would advance her professional and social ambitions. I think it's important that board members understand Jessica Hartford's behavior patterns and character demonstration during family milestone events, explained Patricia Morgan, executive director of the Wadsworth Athenaeum, during a board meeting where Jessica had applied for volunteer leadership positions and cultural organization involvement. Her systematic exclusion of elderly family members during wedding celebrations and her apparent efforts to manipulate family relationships for personal advancement raised serious concerns about her commitment to our organization's values about community service, intergenerational cooperation, and ethical leadership that honors established relationships and traditional protocols. Similar discussions occurred within multiple cultural organizations, charitable foundations, and professional associations where Jessica had expected marriage to David would provide automatic access to leadership opportunities and social advancement that would enhance her career prospects and community influence. The most expensive wedding day in Connecticut history wasn't measured by vendor costs or venue expenses, but by the $8.5 million inheritance that disappeared forever when systematic family manipulation and elder exploitation during traditional celebrations Revealed character flaws that made inheritance entitlement impossible and transformed wedding triumph into lifetime financial devastation through irrevocable consequences that reflected the true cost of treating elderly family members as powerless obstacles rather than people deserving unconditional respect and traditional recognition during major milestone events that should celebrate family unity rather than establishing social dominance through systematic betrayal and calculated exploitation. Up next, you've got two more standout stories right on your screen. If this one hit the mark, you won't want to pass these up. Just click and check them out. And don't forget to subscribe and turn on the notification bell, so you don't miss any upload from us.